again, I just want to reiterate that when it comes down to it, the whole point of this experiment is can we reason as men? Can we set aside our emotions, weaponize our emotions, but set them aside ultimately to figure out the greatest ranking ever? Something that isn't just there because we felt a certain way, but we can actually state with our words, we can state why every movie is where it is. That being said, I so thoroughly appreciate your move here to try to place this movie objectively, knowing that you may not like it. And we all are saying that it has flaws, but it is underrated. So for me, I kind of landed at, I'm like, somewhere above Tomorrow Never Dies, right? This isn't a big, dumb action movie. It's a smart, sometimes dumb action movie.
Yeah.
With some dumb action moments, but it is a smart movie. Both are follow-ups to beloved installments that are something of a letdown, but this isn't the big, dumb action movie. It's a smart movie that also uses action as a crutch, just like T&D. It defeats the Thunderball threshold for me. Thunderball has always been a threshold. It defeats that for me.
I'm torn. Here's the thing. I'm more torn now that I'm thinking about it more. I'm like, Honor Majesty's Secret Service is a lot more memorable for me. And I think it's memorable for more people in general. And that's where I'm like...
We don't care about anybody outside of this threesome, though.
No, I know. But I think...
Other than members.
I'm still thinking... Now I'm thinking about it more, and I'm like... But for Honor Majesty's Secret Service, we have a great Blofeld. We have probably the best Blofeld we get in any of the fucking movies. I think so. I think the movie also, it doesn't lean into the gadget that most of these other movies do, which is, I think, actually kind of a plus.
No gadget.
But that's a Bond element. Some people, but it's not a Bond movie if it doesn't have gadgets. I need everything.
But I do feel like Honor Majesty's Secret Service does lend itself to being more of a I know you're gonna say like, well, it's a more Bond movie, blah blah blah. But I don't know. I do feel torn. I do feel torn to be like it's better than Honor Majesty's Secret Service because I'm kind of like in my heart of hearts I can't really say that. I can't.
Let me continue though.
No, I can't.
If I were to put it above Secret Service, it'd be because Secret Service has story trouble, not form trouble. It's a pretty solid movie. Yeah, it plays with editing a little here, but it's not the form, it's the story I have problems with. This movie has form trouble, not so much story trouble. The story is clear. Bond seeking revenge by flushing out Spectre. Quantum. Call it what the you want. Last episode, we really equated Secret Service with Casino Royale. So if you're kind of looking at it on that, if you're looking at those as equivalents, the follow-up that Honor Majesty's Secret Service should have been something like Quantum of Solace. But instead we got Diamonds Are Forever, which was essentially a rejection of Secret Service in favor of a comedy. And y'all know I love my Diamonds Are Forever.
Stupid.
But everything they did in the opener was shameful next to what Quantum does for Casino.
Yeah.
Bond seeking revenge, but in the end finding solace and then going back to work, hence the line, I never left, right? Secret Service is vaguely about wanting to leave the service, but arguably maybe they didn't nail that theme so much. And then Diamonds Are Forever opens with Bond getting revenge for Tracy's death in the wake of Secret Service.
Where is Ernst Stavro Blofeld?
However, the death of Tracy is completely ignored in Diamonds Are Forever. It never comes up. Her name's never mentioned at all, even though Bond is pursuing the very man who killed her.
Well, that's a neat trick.
Secret Service, the thematic stuff is watered down and weak, whereas here, it's all there. It's all Bond reeling after the loss of his own Tracy, after Vesper, right? And that's where the story elements are there. The form is what's off. Oh, the editing is bad. Oh, there's some you and I have talked about this. This is, I think, the one difference is I do feel like you and I talk about form versus the story and the thing, and you're like, well, the story is what's matter. I'm like, yeah, I know, but if you can't tell that story well, then get the out of here. And that's where that's the question. The question is, did they tell this poorly just because they had a couple bad edits here and there?
Yeah. And I think I still do think that Honor Majesty's Secret Service tells at least the story better, even if it's not as strong as what you think of Quantum. But I do think Quantum just like it drowns itself in trying to be intellectual, or like it drowns itself in being intellectual and not being entertaining. And that's where I feel like Majesty's Secret Service shines, is that it is very entertaining, even if it doesn't always lend to the intellectual elements that you probably wanted. And that's where I'm like, I think Honor Majesty's Secrets has slight edge there, where it's like, I can go back and watch Honor Majesty's Secret Service hundreds of times, and I think it's still a more entertaining movie. It does try to have more emotional moments, but it's more in the romantic side of things rather than being like this movie that is talking about real world things that are going on in the world. And that's where I feel like that's where I'm like, it's in that right there. It's like right there. And I just think that Majesty's Secret Service at least knows what it's doing. And it's like, we're at the end of the day, we're still an entertaining movie. We're still about entertainment. I think that's the problem with Quantum. Okay. The problem with Quantum is not the editing. The problem with Quantum is it's trying to be too damn smart and forgets that it's trying to be entertainment.
This is where we check each other because I'm like, I want smart. I like that. I want smart. The movies that I put at the top are the smarter ones.
We gotta have both.
I'm here for story and bad guy, and then you remind me that it's not always about story and bad guy. Sometimes it's about entertainment.
And I think but if you look at Goldfinger and Goldeneye, if you look at Goldfinger and Goldeneye, right? Like Goldeneye is both. Goldeneye has a smart story that does actually deal with real world stuff, but it's still fucking entertaining as hell. Gold, and as well as I think Casino has entertainment, but it also is a smart story. I think this one is just trying too hard to be smart story. And yes, there is some action in that kind of, and I mean, of course, there's still action in these movies. I just think by the end of the movie, I'm like, I felt like I wasn't entertained, and I felt like I was given a homework assignment.
Like I said, it defeats Thunderball threshold for me. It defeats it. Because, editing bad. Who cares? It defeats Thunderball threshold. I knew, of course, going into this, me threatening, because I know you don't really like this movie, but threatening Secret Service would almost be like a personal move. For me, you nailed me. Upwards of number 10. Like at least above Tomorrow Never Dies and Thunderball is where I'm at.
But to put a ceiling on it, it can't surpass
The World
Man
is
with
Not
the
Enough.
Golden Gun.
The World is not enough. It can't surpass
Don't
The World
know
is Not
about Dr. No either.
I could
World
live.
is not enough.
I could live below The World is Not Enough, above Thunderball. The thing that I keep going back to, though, for you, McCurdy, is two things. I know I said I'm tired of the argument, but Bond-isms plus memorability. And you've said throughout this recording, you've said this movie just isn't that memorable. I like my high-minded, not just good versus evil, but like just real-world political stuff. I understand that isn't as memorable or entertaining, and sometimes having a good old-fashioned evil for the sake of evil, bad guy for the sake of bad guy is good. And then, of course, the Bond stuff. If this ended up at 13, I'd be okay. If it ended up at 10, I'd be okay.
Yeah.
10, 11, 12, 13.
We're in the right ballpark. We are like, that's the right ballpark for this movie.
It is a middle movie. It deserves to be in the middle.
I agree.
Yeah, because most lists would try to throw this to the bottom. I'm agreeing with you to the point of like, this movie's smarter than I think people give it credit for, besides the flaws. But my argument is, if you're going to bog somebody down with a homework assignment on how intricate the plot is, then you've missed the point of entertainment. And that at the end of the day, James Bond is still entertainment. So you have to balance both of those things. That's why I think Goldeneye is a perfect balance of those things, because yes, we do get the Cold War representation and like the real world stakes of what was actually going on in the world. But at the same time, we do get a very entertaining movie. And I do think like the higher movies do demonstrate like you can have both. You can have a really deep, intricate story, and you can have a lot of entertainment. I think Honor Majesty's Secret Service is a good balance, because in the sense that it is trying to give more of it's trying to break that mold of just like Bond saves the day, and like asking questions about the character of Bond, much like this movie does, or much like Casino does. Maybe it fails at it, but at the same time, I'm still looking at it like, I like the skiing scenes. I like the scene where he's getting chased in the snow in the car and he's getting kissed. I like every scene in that movie. I feel like I'm way more entertained overall. And that's why I'm like, I think it's better than Thunderball, but I don't think it's better than Honor Majesty's Secret Service.
I think that's all well put. I agree with everything you just said. My whole thing is, I just think everybody out there needs to shut the f*** up about Quantum and enjoy it for what it really is, and not put it at the bottom. Because
It's not at the
whether it's problems with form or content. I think if you have problems with the form, okay. If you have problems with the content / story, I don't think you understand it. And so it doesn't deserve to be at the bottom. It deserves to be at the middle. It's underrated. So if it's underrated and it's at the bottom, generally, underrated means it should be more at the middle. So at the middle would be right below Secret Service, which is Secret Service is more like a casino movie. It's got that whole thing of like Bond questioning what he wants to do, but also having classic Bondian elements to it, including the best Bond joke ever told.
He had lots of guts.
I think it is fair, and Nans, let us know if you agree, because again, Can't Pass World's not enough. Love me some View to a Kill. Love me some For Your Eyes Only. Question some Secret Service, but still respect that movie. But I gotta see this movie above Thunderball. So the perfect spot might just be right there at the big 1-3. Number 13.
Yeah, that's not far off from where I'm at. I also use The World Is Not Enough as a ceiling that I don't think it should or could breach. And then going down the list, I personally could see it above A View to a Kill or For Your Eyes Only. On Her Majesty's Secret Service and Thunderball also have historically served as barriers.
Thresholds.
I definitely see it above Tomorrow Never Dies, though, which I know is like kind of a big range. Like I said, I could see it at 10, just below World Is Not Enough, but I also do see the merits of On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So I wouldn't complain if it was just below Secret Service, above Thunderball.
That would be giving it the credit for its story, but then understanding its shortcomings in, how it's put together and certain questions you might have.
Most critics are going to throw this movie in the dumpster of the bottom next to You Only Live Twice, and I don't
next to Mathis.
Next to they're going to throw this movie. Most people would throw this movie in the dumpster with Mathis, and You Only Live Twice, and some other movies we haven't talked about. But I think that if your whole goal tonight was to say this movie's underrated, putting it under Majesty's Secret Service would prove that point. So my biggest takeaway is just memorability for this film is
how
memorable this movie is and how it leaves you after you see it, and then do you feel entertained? I feel like it just does not check that box, and I feel like it's a very important box that maybe we should think about when we watch movies.
It is forgettable, to be fair.
Again, you have to have homework to see this movie because you're going to get lost if you don't see Casino, and that's the only it's really the only one.
I think the conclusion here is this. Quantum of Solace, as I said at the outset, is a criminally
These two men, they poured a whole bottle of bourbon into me.
Criminally underrated, or as QWERTY put it, overhated Bond movie. It's almost like AJ said. He's like, what's the point? And my point would be, well, it's the chaser after that shot of Casino. And others might say, if you're a man, you don't need a goddamn chaser.
No, they didn't give me a chaser.
That, yes, depends on an entire other film for it to make sense. So I don't think that's Quantum's fault.